You're watching 52 Week Low. I'm Curtis Hollister. For eons, the process of photosynthesis has been powering life on the planet. The sun feeds plants, and the plants convert sunshine into energy to grow and ideally to thrive. Simple, right? One company being touted as creating the next generation of solar-powered energy solutions is First Solar, trading under the symbol FSLR, and headquartered out of Phoenix, Arizona. In February of last year, the company was trading at its all-time high of around $75 a share. Today, the company is hovering around their 52-week low of approximately $29.87 and currently trades at approximately $40 a share. Joining me today is Dana Blankenhorn, a top technology sector contributor on Seeking Alpha, an independent analyst that's been following First Solar for some time. Dana, welcome to the show.
Good to talk to you.
So Dana, you recently published an article about First Solar and how the business of solar is kind of still waiting to happen. What are the big issues that are surrounding this industry that we've all kind of seen and watched evolve over the last 25 years?
Well, actually, this is an industry that is happening, and is happening in a very big way. It's continuing to grow. The problem last year was that China produced so many of its own solar panels that they just dumped them on the world market. They dumped them on the American market. They were making too many for their own use. And this dumping caused the actual price per panel to fall below the cost of production for American producers. This is what created the so-called Cylinder scandal, because Cylinder was backing a technology that was 30% below in cost what everybody else had, but the Chinese panels fell 50% in cost, and suddenly they were broke. First Solar got caught in this as well, and that's why they're now at a low.
So is when we're looking at the technology that's coming out of China, is First Solar, do they have better technology? Is it more efficient, cost effective? Is it last longer? What's the differences between what the Chinese are doing and what First Solar offers?
Most of the technology actually originated here. It was licensed for production to the Chinese in the form of polysilicon panels. And that's what most of the Trina, the JA Solar companies, they make. Polysilicon, these really thick panels that are made somewhat like computer chips. First Solar pioneered what's called cadmium telluride. It's a completely different technology which actually produces a thin film that has to be mounted. And they have focused solely on this particular technology. There are other technologies that are in the market. Stion, for instance, just opened a plant in Mississippi producing what are called SIGS panels. They also use rare earths, but in a different way with a different mixture.
So obviously, like we said, we've seen this kind of business be around for a long time. Why hasn't it taken off? Like, why doesn't everybody have solar panels? Why isn't every utility provider using this as their primary source of energy production?
The key question here has to be grid parity. Getting the cost of an installed panel down to a level where the cost per watt of energy from that panel is equal to the cost per watt of energy from other grid sources like coal and natural gas, oil, and things like that. Right now, First Solar, last year actually, got their price down to $1 a watt. They think that with their present technology, by increasing the yield, by increasing the efficiency, and frankly by producing the panels in places like Malaysia and Vietnam, they can get their costs down to 70% a watt within a few years. At that level, then you reach grid parity. That's when the balance between buyers and sellers changes completely. Because right now, if you're selling solar panel energy, you are selling energy at a premium price. There are models for selling this energy at a premium price, but what you really want is to sell it at the same price for a lower price. That is going to happen. And once that happens, then you want to be a seller of panels. Then you want to be making them.
Agreed. And one of the things that you're mentioning in your article is the fact that First Solar is also kind of innovating the model around effectively building these utility-sized solar power production plants. So it's on a very large scale. If these things get built, are people, one, is that a good idea? And two, are people willing to pay a premium for solar energy or renewable energies in the short term?
They are. In fact, there are some companies like Kohl's, the department store chain, Starbucks, the coffee shop chain. They buy this power through so-called green certificates. In other words, they take the power that a panel is producing, and then they claim we are running without a carbon footprint. So there is a premium available out there in the marketplace. You don't necessarily need the government subsidies that were used 2 or 3 years ago to get the industry started.
Gotcha, gotcha. So they're also quite active on their international markets lately. You know, saying they're getting some headway within some of these developing economies. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's a global market. And First Solar right now is focusing on the American market. They are one of the companies that are getting into this utility area, becoming their own developer. That means instead of just producing the panels, they're actually buying and installing the panels. And then they're selling agreements, they're selling deals with utility companies to take that power to sell that development so they can recycle the money and do it over again. They recently signed just such an agreement with Mid-American Energy, which is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which is controlled by Warren Buffett.
Gotcha.
And this is one reason why the company got rid of its CEO and brought the founder back. That was an event that caused a lot of people who were following the stock to stop following the stock, to say, dump the stock is going to zero. But it didn't go to zero, because now they have a model that's going to get them as a company to the point of grid parity.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, and you mentioned a couple of other players within this, one specifically being GE, and they have a very similar, or if not same technology. You know, if they start making this market with these new technologies and these larger kind of facilities, if they lead the way, is First Solar going to be the key benefactors?
GE has actually validated the First Solar approach. They are using the same cadmium telluride technology that First Solar is using. One difference, though, is that GE is going to make all of its panels at a new factory they're building in Colorado, whereas First Solar makes a lot of its panels at factories in Malaysia and now a new one in Vietnam. First Solar can kind of build these factories and site them in a relatively short order, each one of which capable of producing a gigawatt of power panels per year. That's the total amount of power that they'll deliver over the course of the panel's expected lifetime. So they'll be competitive in that market.
Gotcha.
And then the key is, what are the new technologies going to be? And there are a lot of them. There are organic solar cells coming out. There are backplanes with lots of mirrors that are starting to appear. All of these technologies are competing to get their cost per watt down as low as possible through more efficient production and higher yield.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like, you know, once that threshold for market demand, you know, goes to the next level, whether government economies start to say, okay, you have to have this much renewable energy within your grid breakdown, you know, there's going to be the big public issuers snapping up these private or public smaller players within the market, and First Solar seems like they're pretty much set up to be doing that.
Once you pass grid parity, once you pass convergence, this becomes like the PC business. Right now, we're kind of at a mini computer sort of stage for the industry. The next generation is just starting to come out, and it's radically different from what came before. Once you get to that PC stage, once you pass grid parity, government policies stop mattering, because then it's cheap power. Everybody wants cheap power, right? Just like everybody wants more cash. And right now, you're saving money, okay? There are lots of ways that renewable energy saves money. If you get more efficient, you save money. That's money in your pocket.
And the fact of the matter is that this is not only if they can reach that, but people want, if they have a choice of where they're putting their dollars, they want to put it into these kinds of things. Nobody likes the idea of this big smokestack pushing smoke up into the sky, whether it's here in North America or internationally. And, you know, that's something that's dotted the landscape in a lot of cases. Dana?
Exactly. And there was a recent study over at Stanford showing that if we can just deal with the problems of methane and soot, that means covering our landfills, maybe putting solar panels on them, and taking down some of these coal-fired power plants, we can actually start to deal with global warming.
Sounds like a balanced mix of they've got lots of opportunity, might not be in the short run, but this is a company that everyone's obviously going to take a look at, whether they're a customer or an investor.
Could be.
Dana, thanks so much for your time. For more articles from Dana Blankenhorn, you can visit his profile on Seeking Alpha. For more videos from public companies and industry experts, please visit investorchannel.tv.